All right. I hope you guys are ready for this one because this is going to be a video and a half. So, we are going to talk about, let's see, not whether you should open an LGS store, but whether or not LGS stores are even a viable option anymore, just in the world today that we're in. And we're going to go over kind of just the first thing the main thing we're going to do is purely the business model. I'm not going to go over mindset. I'm not going to go over a lot of the other stuff that involves owning and operating an LGS store. This is purely on whether or not an LGS store from a business model standpoint is even a good idea anymore. So there's really two ways you can do this. You have online and brick and mortar. That's kind of it. Now, obviously, both is the way to go if you could, right? Well, let's go ahead and go with, we'll start with online. This can be the simplest one. Don't do it. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. There's no way, okay, there's very, very little way, and it would take an enormous amount of work from you to be able to make an online store work, okay? Now, let me explain. I want you to go ahead and stop the video. I want you to go on and just type in Pokemon cards for sale. Then I want you to scroll, and I want you to look at how many stores are there. Now that's just people who have made their own website. Let's go ahead and go to Amazon, go to eBay, go to TCG Player. You can't compete with them. There are so many people who think they're gonna make money selling cards online, and you're not. Well, sealed product, let me say sealed product. Own your own store. It is so hard because everyone is aiming for the bottom. Everyone wants to shoot for the lowest, be that first one on the list on TCG Player so that people buy that one. Well, guess what? When you're buying booster boxes for $90, $95, and you're selling them for $100 with shipping included, you're losing money. And at that point, who the hell cares how many you sold? Because you lost money. And we're doing this for money, right? I'm not doing it just to have fun. I mean, I am. But I want to make money too. And you're not starting a store to have fun. You want money. And it's just, you can't compete. You cannot compete with online stores. Don't try it. It's something extra you do when you have your brick and mortar set up. So just don't even start there. You can't do an online store, period, by itself. You just can't. Now let's go to brick and mortar. This is a little bit more interesting. You see, because I want you to close your eyes. I want you to think of an LGS store, okay? You close your eyes. You walk in. What do you see? Maybe you see a wall on your left-hand side that has some board games, right? Maybe on the right-hand side, you have a counter with display that has some cards in it. And right behind that are some maybe sealed products, right? And you got some, knickknacks, accessories, and then you got tables in the back where people play, right? Think of a cool stuff, right? Cool Stuff Inc., cool games. Your typical LGS store. That business model does not work anymore. And the reason why it worked in the past is because people, and again, this is internet's fault. People weren't just selling like crazy online. You couldn't easily just go on to the internet and find somebody selling it cheap. You had to go to the LGS store because that's who owned them. And it worked before because of that. You had to go here, and you could go to Walmart and stuff. They also got it, some other stores. But for the most part, you had to go to these LGS stores. They had everything. And that's why it worked. If you wanted your product, your cards, you had to go there for the most part. And that's not the case anymore. You don't. So that specific business model in regards to brick and mortar, it's really hard. I mean, unless you really ramped up your again, it all depends on, you and how hard you're going to work, but that business model is not going to work. There's no point in doing it to sit there all day, make just the tiniest little, because again, you're competing with online stores now too. The brick and mortar does compete with online. And why would somebody come to your LGS store where you have to charge, we'll say $120 for a box just to make some profit, to pay for all the other stuff, because you have utilities, you have rent, you might have a employee or two. You got to charge more for that because you got more stuff to pay for. Online stores don't, for the most part. They could just charge bottom dollar. And as a brick and mortar shop, you can't do that. So why would somebody, you can say, "Ooh, well, we gotta support our LGS stores." They're not. They don't care if you go out of business. Realistically, they don't care if you go out of business. They're gonna go on the internet. I buy my cards right now online because they're cheaper. They're a lot cheaper. Why would I go to an LGS store? Like, sorry, I want the cheapest price. I'm not going to pay you an extra $10 per product just to support you, you know? So you have to do, and this is leading up to, you have to do something different. And it's stuff that there have been some kind of models out there that have been trying to shake it up a little bit. And I'll give you a couple examples. The first is you have people who are doing like, well, I'll use board games because that's the only one that I've actually seen that's done something different. You have board game cafes where the whole premise of the business is not just games. It is games and food. Now, you don't necessarily have to do food. That's kind of hard with card games. You get your greasy, grimy hands all over the cards. That's gross. You don't have to do that. But you need something supplemental. You know, a lot of these stores do sell like chips and drinks and stuff. And, you know, that's okay. It's a little bit more, but you need something bigger. You need something more sustainable, something that gives you a bigger profit margin. So a lot of places I know are, I shouldn't say a lot of places. I know some places are doing like, say, instead of just going and playing at the tables they have, you know, you buy, you know, a product, you open at the tables, you play some. What they're doing now is they're charging you to play at the table. So imagine this. Let's say on any given night, you get 10 people who come in. Well, guess what? That's $50 for what? A few tables? Okay, that's pretty good profit margin. And at that point, they don't even have to buy anything else. You know, they could buy cards, they could buy drinks. That's great, but they're paying for these tables just to be there. You're as a local game store, you cannot operate solely on just being a store where people buy products. You have to offer more. There needs to be something else, some kind of entertainment. You know, I haven't seen it. I'm not sure if it'll work, but an arcade. Imagine an arcade where all your prizes are Pokemon cards. Where like you get the gotcha games with the claw and it's Pokemon cards. You get this little spinny thing. You try to land on it, and guess what? You win Pokemon cards. You get a certain amount of tickets, and you get Pokemon cards. Stuff like that gives more to the consumer, and it's something that I haven't seen much. Granted, there's not a lot of LGS stores like around me, but it can work. A new model has to be made. There's no longer can you just be a place where people can go buy cards. People can go buy cards anywhere now. You have to offer something as a business, whether that's food, entertainment, some other kind of service. You know, I'll use video games as another example. You have stores that just sell games, and then you have stores that sell games but also fix consoles and controllers and stuff. You have to offer something else, and preferably something that has a much higher profit margin, whether or not it necessarily you use it a lot or sell a lot of it, something that gives you more money than just selling your cards. Selling your cards should almost be the extra part of your business, right? So let's say let's go ahead and I'll go back to the model where people come pay for tables. Let's say you have, you know, a tournament and it's, you know, X amount of money to come play the tournament, and you give prizes for products. You know, your profit ratio on that for sealed product that you buy cheaper, but you can advertise it something more expensive, it gives the consumer more idea that, you know, they're getting something out of it, but you're actually making more money. So you have to figure out something different, and it varies per person depending on who you are and what you enjoy. If you just want to sell cards, I don't do a brick and mortar. It's not going to work. You got to figure something out. Buckle down, figure out. Entertainment's probably your best bet because people will go there just to be entertained. Imagine like a bar. People will go to a bar and, oh, they have some food there. Okay, I guess I'll buy some food while I'm here. Give a reason for people to come play and hang out in your area. And because they're already there, they might as well buy some product. And that's how it's going to work. And I'll be interested to see if any, you know, model kind of comes up soon, because I can't imagine a lot of these LGS stores are really, you know, they've got to be scraping by at this point. You know, there's really, people just don't buy in stores. Why? You can go online and get it shipped right to your door. Sure, you can't get it that day. Well, sometimes you can, but there has to be something else. And it's possible. It's possible. I'm thinking about it. You know, you got to think of some ideas, and it's there. It just takes creativity, but it's definitely there.